Hugh Screwer. Hugh Screwer's in the building. Hugh Screwer's in the building. Okay. Hugh Screwer's. I'm Hugh Screwer. This is Hugh Screwer's ADSOM training. Welcome back to all yous following the training online, and also to my 6 regular class students. Welcome to have all 6 of you back. I've just been training a group of relatively newbies to the ADSOM training up in the sand hills, so that's why I'm dressed like this and got my megaphone. Just training them in the sand, moving up and down the sand hills, working those muscle groups that are so vital for a great signature walk. My regular class now, they've all got their signature walks nailed down, which I'm very pleased to have achieved with them. Thanks for your efforts, fellas. Yeah, what's that? Spin doctors? You'd like me to give you a blast from the past, right? Take you down memory lane, so to speak. You know, give you bark a few orders. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna be careful with this. Oh. Okay, yeah, get those flies pumping, get those glutes working, get that chest pumped out, get that head moving, get the head moving with attitude. Come on, up those sand hills. Last one up the sand hills is a Sergeant Elias Embracer. Let's go! That'll do. I'll put that away. Just playing around with that. So welcome back, and I did ask the class last lesson just to have a look up research into a couple of those really famous ADSOMs. I did particularly mention the very good boys. There was Gark Kilsen, of course. There was the Torch, and there was also the Claw. Yes. No, Mr. Maverick. We're not going down that. It's the Claw, not the Craw. Not going down there. Anyway, the 2 I'll particularly deal with today, we'll probably mention, is probably Gark Kilsen and the good old boys. And I did mention too about the, I'd go through the Kilsen's, it's the Kilsen kick down, kiss up pyramid, the theoretical pyramid today. So we might start off with that. So this is theoretical, of course, but it does give a representation of an organisation which is in harmony with the, just hang on one tick, I just got to check that mic is on, just one tick. Yeah, mic's running. Yeah, so it's the Kilsen stable, kick down, kiss up, pyramid, simplistic version. So, point today, you've got, this is representative of the structure of an organisation, of course. Organisations, basically you have, what you describe as your workers, and then people above them, various levels of supervision and management, up to the top, which, this would be traditionally like your CEO of your organisation, or small business owner, whichever. But anyway, it is simplistic, of course, because there's a whole lot of different ways organisations can be structured. So points to note, of course, you've got your various layers. Of course, the red is for representing a kick down, the black's representing a kiss up, and as you can see, the numbers of arrows up and down will represent the number, in theory, the representative of the number of people in that layer. So traditionally in organisations, yeah, they basically, there's more people at the bottom and only very few at the top. You can't have your flatter structures than this sort of thing, but this is probably fairly typical of a medium to large organisation. So, and of course, they're all points to note are basically that the way it's represented here, you can see that the way it's represented is the kick down, the size of the arrow is representative of the force of that kick down, and you can see that the kick down is larger at the bottom, and as you see, much smaller at the top. So those red arrows, as you can see, you know, they're just getting gradually bigger as they trickle down to the bottom. And as you can see, those kiss ups, you know, not always, but yeah, traditionally, yeah. And the theory of this simplistic pyramid is that the kiss ups will get gradually increase as they get wider away to the top. As I say, doesn't have to be always that way. As about it does, it is a, you know, it is a good representation of a of an organisation in ADSOM, humming along at ADSOM harmony. Yes, Father Brown. No, that doesn't mean that there's that it's an efficient organisation or an organisation with high morale. I mean, often these organisations can be very low morale and low efficiency. As I've said in the past, you know, that being a successful ADSOM and having successful ADSOMs within an organisation doesn't mean that organisation will be successful in other fields. It just means that it's serving the purposes of serving the needs of those ADSOMs. So it's in, well, it's in this situation, it's in ADSOM harmony, if you like, just humming along sort of thing. So yes, Mr. Maverick, wonder when we're going to hear from you. Yeah, okay. So Mr. Mavericks, he's asking, so if there's staff members between, what you're saying, yeah, so there's staff members, say, below that green line and above that green line, right? Yeah, I'm following you, Mr. Maverick. Yeah, where you going? Yeah, so staff members above and below. Yeah. And he's asking, what about the staff members who are actually on that green line? Yeah, well, that's quite, you know, you could say it's perceptive, but Mr. Maverick, surely you would have learnt in high school mathematics that a linear line has no dimensions above or below that. It's a theoretical line, the same as a point on a graph. It has no dimensions at all. But yeah, I guess you're probably too busy, you know, dreaming of, you know, getting the 8G rolls with Megs and riding your motorbike down the fast speeds down the California coast without a helmet on. So I'll just leave that. All I'll say to you, Mr. Maverick, is that I actually had a great granduncle, and he, like you, he used to forget his lines, and that was very important in his profession, and it caused him a great deal of difficulty. So yes, Mr. Maverick, what was his profession? Well, can you guess what his profession was? It was very important for him to not forget his lines, but he used to forget his lines all the time. It caused him great difficulty. No, he was not. He was not an actor. 55. No, he was not a stage actor. I would have loved to have a great granduncle. He was, you know, like a Shakespearean trained actor, you know, treading the boards down the old West End. I would have loved to sort of, you know, research that. But no, he was not an actor. Father Brown, he was a public speaker, perhaps a politician. No, he was not. He was not. Can anybody else guess what profession he was in where it was so important that he didn't forget his lines? No, okay, no. Well, he was actually in the circus. He was a line trainer and tamer. So you can imagine the difficulties that it imposed on him when he forgot his lines. So anyway, thanks for that intervention, Mr. Maverick. But yes, I mean, those lines, there's no staff actually on those lines. So yes, William Shakespeare, yeah. Very good question, William Shakespeare. Look, it's not called the Kilsen stable kick down, kiss up pyramid because Gark Kilsen devised it, but it's actually it was actually created because, in spite of Gark Kilsen, which we'll come to, the person who came up with this was none other than Miss Serendipity Ubiquity, who's one of our specialist trainers at Top Screw. Some of you may meet her either in one of these training sessions, or you may get to meet her at Top Screw if you you know, if you were to ever go on top screw. So serendipity, I mean, even serendipity would agree it's much better to be called the Kilsen pyramid than, you know, well, the ubiquity pyramid. It just doesn't work, kind of thing. Yeah. So yes, teeth fizz. Yeah, well, that's right. Well, I was about to. No, it was called the Kilsen pyramid in spite of him, because what? Gary was an unusual character, sort of like he did the training here, as I said before, and he was very successful at the training. Then and the first day he got here, the first day he got to the training, you know, and there was probably about, I think we had about similar numbers to this. We had about 7 or 8 students, including Gary. And when we went around, you know, just sort of, you know, said, "What's your name?" He said, "Well, look, you've probably already heard of me," because he said most people think that they've already heard of me. So he said, "No, Gark Kilsen," and just about everyone, you know, kind of went, "I think I have heard of him," you know, and they couldn't really put your finger on where you had heard of him. So he's an unusual person. When he, as I said, but last lesson, when he got to top screw, he just couldn't keep his shit wide tight. As I said, he was a maverick type. He's a maverick type character. So Gary, when he basically get into organisations, and he wouldn't just kick down and kiss up, even though he was quite capable of doing that, and he's done that in certain organisations. But he'd kick out sideways. He'd kick out sideways. Sometimes he'd even kick up. He'd kick up and he'd kiss down. And this would cause, he was like one of the original disruptors, was Gary. One of the original disruptors, which will come to the next diagram, which of course, this is again very simplistic, but this is the Kilsen disruption model in organisations, and of course, as it just shows here, you've got that triangle is just representing what we've seen before, a stable kick down, kiss up pyramid. And then, as you can see, I've represented by instead of the red arrows for the kick downs going down, they're going up, and the kiss ups are going down, and the things are going sideways. They're kicking sideways, kissing sideways, and all sorts of. So they had the Kilsen disruption. This would send some of these organisations, which were just humming along. The ADSOMs were all getting what they needed out of it, sort of thing. It's it's a very self-serving kind of thing. Then you'd have this whirlpool, which will just represented here. I haven't drawn a really good whirlpool. Just said this whirlpool of disruption caused by Gark Kilsen, causing ADSOM disbelief and shock. And of course, because the whirlpool eventually would slow down, and Gary would go off and go to another organisation, or just go do nothing for a while, as he's often known to have done, and then it'd take a while for it, to return to the stable kick down, kiss up pyramid. So he was a he was a disruptor. He was a disruptor. Yes, Farmer Brown. Yeah. You say that I sound like I have some admiration for him. Yeah, look. I mean, he was a disruptor. He was a rambling man. He was he was a loser who got lucky sometimes. He was a rocker. He was a roller. Sometimes a right out of controller. He was like a, he was like the devil's bastard son. He was like a bastard of young. He was a guy who tried to climb the ladder of success and missed the whole first rung. He was like another lost guy on the highway. He was a desperado. He was a guy who tried to follow the yellow brick road, but got stranded in the desert with a tin man. He was the seventh son, born in the 7th hour of the 7th day of a tempestuous storm. He was, well, aside from all that, he was just a regular guy next door, Gary. But he took, for some reason, he took a particular disliking to the very good boys. who you would have read a bit about, so for sure. Yes, I'm 55, yeah, no, well, the Very Good Boys, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, just like the name, the name says Very Good Boys, mate, but there were women, there were females in the Very Good Boys, as you probably would have read, that people who had secretly observed their ceremony rituals, you know, when they'd all have gowns and hoods on, but they discovered that the ceremonial leader of the Very Good Boy cult was in fact a woman. They discovered this just by her voice, by her, you know, anatomy and so forth. And as you would have read, they described that with the hood over her gown, there was actually a few inches where the hood was raised above the forehead, indicating that it was a woman who most likely had a very large, powerful perm above the head, so keeping that hood up over that. So, but yeah, but Gary took a particular dislike to the Very Good Boys, and he started mocking them. He started in the end stalking them, kind of thing. You know, he'd say things to them like, you know, oh, you guys, you know, oh, you think you're, you know, lock, stock and two smoking barrel type guys, kind of thing, you know, and you know, you guys aspire to be Vinnie Jones, kind of thing, but yeah, you know, Vinnie Jones, you're more like a Ross Kemp type of thing, you know, and he'd make fun of their tight shirts, you know, and say, you know, well, I can see the sheerness, through the sheerness of his shirt, I can see your nipples, man, you know, stuff like that. You know, he's mocking them and even stalking them. In the end, he'd basically, you know, get them, you know, he'd sort of follow, if you get them alone, you know, in a stairwell or in a lift or something like that, get them on their own, you know, where they're away from their whole system of support. Like I said last week, you know, as an ADSOM, you never ever want to be in a fair sort of, you know, contest, conflict, or that. You always want to have systems, weight of numbers, finances all behind you. And the Very Good Boys were so used to that, and Gary would, you know, get them, you know, basically away from their comfort zone, and he just sort of, you know, he just sort of mocked them, and eventually, you know, they'd strike out of him, and he'd just sort of give him a bit of a touch up that. Nothing that bad, but, you know, but from a Very Good Boy's point of view, you know, this was terrible. This was, you know, they'd never experienced anything like this. You know, things had been great. They just get away with so much for so long. Nothing's happened, and then along comes this guy, Gark Kilsen, and he's mucking it all up. There was going, you know, at the time this was going on, and Kilsen was disrupting the Very Good Boys in various organisations, and a couple of organisations in particular. There was Very Good Boys. They were basically decided that they weren't going to be Very Good Boys anymore. They were coming in. They were throwing their tight shirts on the ground and burning them. They were basically, you know, they were selling their Vlad Impalers, you know, back to the adult product shops, you know, for next to nothing. You know, we don't want to have a Vlad, we don't want to do nothing, you know. Whereas before that, you know, they all wanted, you know, to cultivate their idea, you know, like Gary said, you know, that they wanted, you know, that they were Vinnie Jones type characters, you know, they mixed everybody, you know, that they could, you know, that they knew people, you know, did special forces training and, you know, and all that, and, you know, that, oh, you know, they'd send videos around to their staff, saying, oh, you know, look at these French foreign legionnaires, you know, in the jungle South America, look at their training, you know, look how hard it is, you know, and it's kind of like making out, you know, that they could somehow aspire to do that training, you know, that they could have been in the Legionnaires or the SEALs or the SAS, you know. When Gary was stalking these guys, when people asked him, didn't didn't you train? Weren't you almost in the SAS? And they, oh no, I've never had anything to do with that. I've never had anything to do with weaponry or anything. No, they're just going the other way because Gary was watching, and he'd bail them up and tell them about it, and he used to mock him. Of course, he used to say, well, he was in the that he'd trained in the Spartan Agoji, and that he actually knew veterans of the battle of Thermopylae with the Persians. I mean, not only is it absurd that there could be people alive who fought at the Battle of Thermopylae in what was it, the 5th century BC or the 4th century BC, but they'd be alive. But I mean, well, there weren't any of the Spartans actually survived. The 300 who fought there weren't any that survived. But yeah, that was Gary. He was pretty well like that, and he caused a great deal of disruption. Yes, Father Brown. Yeah, no. They had the police. They're very good boys. They had the police. They were hiring bodyguards and everything. But they had the police investigate. They made complaints to the police about him beating them up and that sort of thing. But no, he would make sure that they struck first. And he's wearing he'd always wear a little camera, white with sound and vision, and he'd basically have the whole thing on tape, when the police investigate, and it'd be one of the very good boys, of course, striking out at him, sort of thing. That would be the first blow, and then he'd just sort of go, parry and whack back. It wasn't anything big, and they weren't marked. Sometimes he'd just be slapping them open-handed, kind of thing. But yes, Miss Maverick, yeah. What was it that? Well, yeah, it was all the stuff. It was all the Vinnie Jones stuff and the stuff about the tight shirts and that sort of thing. But the thing that really tipped him over the edge, he used to say, and it was something actually that Napoleon historically actually said to the guy he used as a diplomat, who used to be a prince and a bishop and statesman, Charles Talleyrand, after Napoleon got back from Spain in 1809, he actually famously said to Talleyrand, he said, and I don't have a very good French accent, but I just, Talleyrand, you are shit in a silk stocking, and that's what Gary would get these very good boys alone out of their comfort zone, and he's like, you are shit in a silk stocking, and then they'd just try and whack him, and that's where he'd go from there. And yeah, actually, there was a French-made miniseries in 2002 with was Jared Depardieu, but Christian Clavier as Napoleon, John Malkovich as Talleyrand, and actually do that scene, where Napoleon says, "Tell it, you are shit in a silk stocking." But that really got to the good boys. That shit in a silk stocking thing. I mean, it was pretty well what they were. Yes, spin doctors. Yes, I'm doing it too. I'm doing it now too, aren't I? As I said last week, it's an easy mistake to make. I'm actually embracing Sergeant Elias, because I'm actually criticising the very good boys, and through my admiration and respect anyway for Gark Kilsen. But and I shouldn't be doing. I should be holding the very good boys up, as one of the, not the highest, but one of the high levels of ADSOM proficiency for you guys to aspire to, because they are fairly successful ADSOMs. And like I said last week, we just got to check ourselves all the time, like the Phantom Agents in that Japanese TV show in the 1960s. Always remember, we're Phantom Agents. We don't use guns. Guns are last resort. Always remember, we're ADSOMs, or you guys are aspiring to be ADSOMs. And what does A stand for? Absolute. D for dickhead. Always remember, that's what we are, absolute dickhead supervisors or managers. That's what we're aspiring to. Yes, I'm 55. No, well, nobody's heard, as you would have read, nobody's heard from Gark Kilsen for quite a while. There's some say that he took a cruise and he was seen to jumped off the cruise boat at night in the Baltic Sea into Chile and was never seen again. There's some say that he just disappeared. He just walked up into the high country one day and never come back. And there's some say that he went to Beijing on a failed political trip to secure large sums of money to try and strengthen the free speech and religious freedom laws in Australia, and as a result of that failed trip is still languishing in a Chinese prison. So nobody's heard from Gary for a while, so we'll just keep an eye out if he ever pops up. Okay, that's enough for today's lesson. So you've been very good. Thanks for your questions. No homework for this time. I'll leave the second last, of course, to old Gark Kilsen, who got it from Napoleon Bonaparte. And just for today, let's all direct it at the very good boys. Just imagine you're talking to a very... I know we shouldn't do this. Just imagine you're talking to a very good boy and just say to them, "You are shit in a silk stocking." And the second last word, of course, is always with poor little Kirsty dog, who is never going to grace us with her presence, but only in spirit. So we'll just keep this memorial going to there. Okay, get out of here, you punks.